absolutely are we social beings, social creatures. We are at our best, I feel like, when we're connected. I'm a rah-rah coach, team guy. So this is very true in my life. I've always felt like at my best when I'm surrounded and bought into a powerful idea or a powerful mission, and that's what makes the military. What's so bonding? Going through this unbelievable chapter of your life with someone else, and you form a connection that's as good and as strong a friendship as a family member, even more so. My college roommate was a Marine. And the guys that he formed friendships with, I mean, going through the suck, going through all those moments, those are brothers that he'll have forever, and you can't create that over online. Now, not to say there are groups out there. Like we have our own membership group on Facebook and stuff. And I've seen other guys in our industry, fitness and health, who have these really good, engaged, and what's the word I was searching for?
Virtuous.
Virtuous. No, but these really terrific groups where people are sharing testimony and great stories of overcoming this and weight loss and body transformation and stuff. And this is meaningful stuff. And their community, these are friends. These are guys that they would love to be in a room with that maybe live on the other side of the country or another state. But there's still a bond there, Now, not to say what would make that even better would be to have a live experience where you could come together and actually share in community and then continue that bond and that relationship online. But, some people, they don't have that opportunity, with the last couple of years that we've had in this country and all over the world. The virtual bonding and relationship forming was maybe the only option for a little while, right? What would you say about that? I mean, there is the positivity there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's not about just cutting it off completely, right? Like digital, it's here. It's not going away. It's something that is a part of what we do, and who we are as a culture. And so it's learning healthy boundaries. It's learning how to use it in balance and to not allow it to take over your life. So you have that group where you're in it for an hour and you're talking and things along those lines. But then you get off and you go apply it outside of the digital space. I think the other interesting thing about the digital space too is that it creates within us this false sense of security, almost like when you're driving a car, like road rage. Like I think the way that people respond on the road is not how you necessarily respond at a normal conversation.
Without question. If you're standing in a line with people, you're not going to flip out on them like you would if you were in your car.
In your car. It's like your car creates this false sense of security and safety that I can act completely different, but it's okay because there's the barrier between the cars, right?
But then when you come to that stoplight and they're parked right next to you, there's that, oh, crap.
Yeah, that's right. You're actually seeing them. And obviously there are those out there that take it to the next level and they get out and start beating the crap out of each other.
Oh my gosh.
Which is all dumb. But I think that happens in the digital space too, where we think I can say what I want, I can do what I want, and it doesn't really matter. Like I'll post something online that I would never say to you directly, And so again, that falls back to being virtuous online, having balance online, and creating those boundaries, both when you are online and even when you do or don't get online. And those are all really important things in order for us to live virtuously in the virtual, and also to be able to get off of the virtual so we can have the actual genuine relationships and community that God intended us to have with actual human beings.
That's right. I'm in a Saturday morning group that you know very well that I've talked about many times, and it started though as an in-person group, called Roar, and it's for men and women, Christian entrepreneurs, people that are just looking for a community to share life with, to learn from, to grow, to gain leadership skills and coaching and even to some degree some people, financial opportunities and things like that. So for me, it was more just about relationship and growth, spiritual growth, relationship improvement and growth. And just coming into contact with other people that see life the way I see it, and I have some great friendships out of it. And there's still a lot of bonding that goes on Saturday morning on computer. It's like a Zoom call, for an hour, but we get together like quarterly, and that just makes it all worth it, because then when you're in the room together and breaking bread and having meals, and one of our guys is actually a stand-up comedian. He's amazing. We'll get together and go support him and watch him. No, his name is Vienne Pomachan.
Oh, okay.
He's Laotian, and that's a huge part of his act is his name and being married to a Caucasian white woman, and just all the funny stuff that goes on there. But he's hilarious. But it's fun to be together and support him, to be together and have these meals or do events and go to events and stuff together, because I think the two kind of go together better than they are, but independently, because it's hard for people to get together on a regular, right? But we can get together online every Saturday morning.
Yeah. So I think if you have real life and you have digital, right? And when digital is on top of real life, that's a problem.
Yes.
And so you got to fix that balance and make sure that the digital is supporting real life, as opposed to real life is supporting digital.
Yeah.
And those, you have to have that proper order. And what it sounds like with your group is it's supporting real life, right? It's a digital virtuous space that is supporting how can I live my real life better, as opposed to, hey, I'm just living this real life so that I can go get, I go to work and I make money so that I can make sure I can get home and get online and live my life online. Like, that's backwards of how we should be, and the way that God, I think, designed us to be in relationship. In Genesis, as the heavens are being created, right? God says, hey, let's create man in our image, right? And when I think of our image, well, there's Father, Son, Holy Spirit, right? They're already in community. And so we've been designed in His image to be in community. And it's such an important thing, and the digital space needs to support reality and not the other way around. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. It's the foundation, right?
Yeah, but we get those mixed up, and then we get into trouble.
Yeah. You had touched on something, as a talking point about that Social Dilemma movie that was out some years back on Netflix, and one of the themes, or one of the things that stands out from that, is that the developers of these social
media
platforms are the first ones to not let their own children engage.
Absolutely.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes. Yeah. So it was, I think it's still on Netflix, The Social Dilemma.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Christiana and I watched it, and, I went away from it going, man, that's really tough, because that's like a big part of my job is to do social media stuff, I was working at the church at that time, and that was part of my job. But all of these developers are like, no, I would never let my kids have a Facebook account, or all of these things, because the whole point of Facebook is to keep you on Facebook, and so they're selling your information to other people to of how to sell more product to you, and it's a big it's a money-making machine used through addictive behaviors of human beings, where we all have addictive capabilities. We know, DARE, growing up we had DARE to keep kids off drugs, and so we stayed off drugs, and we knew, don't do drugs because you'll get addicted to it. But then we didn't realize is these other things have crept up in our lives that were camouflaged as good things that are now we're addicted to them. And so I know for us, we don't let our kids have phones or social media things. And I mean, there's like third graders and fourth graders going to school with phones, you know, and I'm
it's
thinking,
a very,
I'm like, oh my gosh,
normal
like,
thing. That's a very normal thing.
It's a very normal thing. And we're abnormal, and people think we're abnormal. I'm like, it's okay.
Yep.
I'm okay being abnormal. We had a neighbor, I was having a conversation with him, and they have a younger kid, but his sister has, I think she's like 12 or 13. And she was like the only one in her class that didn't have a phone. And so finally the parents broke because they didn't want her to be socially awkward because she didn't have the same device as everybody else. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm fine if my kid is socially awkward if it means that I'm protecting him from that digital space. And our kids, their brains are still forming and developing and learning. And man, cyberbullying is a real thing.
Yep.
Suicides are up because of it.
Yes.
You know, I was youth pastor in Colorado, and we did a whole suicide like training for our volunteers. Like, hey, how do you talk someone out of, you know, that's in that space? What are things that we can do to help our teenagers, you know, disassociate from the digital space so that they're not so isolated and feeling, you know, there's just so many things that are pushing people towards suicide, you know, and having that healthy distancing and balance away from that is one step that you can take to not have those feelings coming over you. You know, when you're on that space, you're always comparing yourself to other people, and their life is valuable and mine is not, so I might as well just end it, you know, which is ridiculous in reality, and we recognize that, but you start believing the lie.
Well, you can't get away from it now.
You know,
when we were a kid, if you had a bully or a relationship at school that you did not like, once school was over, that was over.
Yeah, you had the break.
You had that break until tomorrow, you know. Now they can come after you on some form of some platform, and now I don't know if they're tweeting about you or Facebook commenting about you or posting about you or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I mean, they can come at you in different ways. And as a kid, that's got to be really, really tough because now it's out there for everybody to see. Now it's not a one-to-one or a one to a small group. It's one to hundreds.
Yeah. And there's a Netflix movie out there that's all about these teenagers like using social media stuff to like come after each other and things like that. And you know, it's not even a movie that's like warning against it. It's all for entertainment purposes. And haha, that's funny, you know. But it's not, you know, it's not funny what people do to other people, you know. And so for us, you know, we're really slow to give our kids access to any of that stuff. I don't know when we will. Eventually, you have to give it to them because they're going to get it at some point. And as a parent, I want to be able to teach them how to have a healthy relationship with the digital space. But I want them to be old enough and mature enough to be able for me to be able to walk with them through that. And a second grader and a third grader, I just don't think they're ready to do that. And and really, unfortunately, I think a lot of parents see it as, hey, I can give them a phone and then they're out of my hair. You know, they can go play on their phone and I'm free to do whatever I want. And I just don't think that's the right way to go about it. And so we are thinking about getting them like a watch that they can just make phone calls on. Like it doesn't have internet access or anything like that. Just so, you know, if they're walking somewhere, whatever, we can be, you know, that they need to call us, they can. But here's the really sad thing is we got Ezra, our oldest, a watch, and then he started getting spam calls.
I know, through his watch. You were saying this like a week or two ago.
I'm like, it was called, you know, I don't want to out the company, but maybe I should. It was Angel Watch, and their whole platform is, hey, you know, you'll be protected. No one will be able to get in except the numbers that you select can call the phone.
And he's getting spam calls. And so I talked to customer service, and they're like, oh, well, you have to do this, that, and the other thing. And so I do everything they tell me to. A few days go by, it's working great, and then all of a sudden he gets a spam text from somebody, and I'm like, okay, we're done, we're sending it back. And so
I don't know what if
the
someone's
whole-
listening
it's
and
the
they
whole-
want to let me
yeah.
know what the device is that we can get our kids
Yeah.
so that they're not getting spam calls, but they can have a watch phone that we can be able to call him, because he's going to be in middle school next year, and so we want him to be able to have access to us. But
You should go back, because right before you started here this year, and I did a podcast with Chris McKenna with Protect Young Eyes.
yes, I remember you doing that one.
Yeah, you should go back and listen to that episode, or at least look at his platform, because I would say that that's where I think a lot of us parents, talking to
Not just
all
me,
those
anybody,
parents,
anybody listening.
Anybody
Go back
listening,
right now.
go back right now.
Maybe not right now. Maybe when this episode's over.
I think the name of the episode is Protecting Young Eyes Online, or something like that. And the guest is Chris McKenna. It's a really good conversation. But this is a man who his life is dedicated to this, is to doing how to do it the right way, how to create a safer environment for our kids. My son is 5th grade, just turned 11, and he
Same
asks
with
me
Ezra.
all the time, when can I get a phone? I'm like, buddy, it'll be soon, but I don't know what soon. Soon
Yeah.
could be 2 years, but soon is like when mommy and daddy. It really comes down to, I told him, when you demonstrate responsibility and in all these other areas of your life, then that conversation can really begin.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
We're always responsibility equals freedom equals love.
That's right.
So if you're responsible, then we know we can trust you to give you the responsibility. And being responsible means that you're showing love to both yourself and others. And so that's kind of the phrase that we use in our house to kind of measure what you are and aren't allowed to do. And that's individual based then, and it's not just like a set rule for everybody.
That's right. Yeah. Every people reach maturity at different times, right?
Yeah. We have a feeling that our daughter is going to reach maturity faster than our oldest.
Well, I think that's kind of the way it goes usually, right?
Yeah.
Are we doing our best each day, okay, you, me, listeners, to better connect to God and other people at home, work, and in our community? And I think this is really kind of the key point to the whole conversation, right? Is connection. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect to others virtually, or we're trying to connect to others physically. And so, hey, buddy. We're so close together. It almost feels it's like should we? Yeah, I know. It's like this is Jared's famous love seat.
That's right.
It is famous, in our world.
That's right.
This is the famous love seat in the
Everybody
building.
wants to sit on Jared's couch.
You have some scripture that you pulled from this. Will you?
Yeah, I did.
And I know you had kind of referenced it earlier.
I did.
You had alluded to it, but go ahead. Why don't you read it here?
I'll just read the one from Acts. I already gave the one from Genesis 1.
Okay.
Acts 2:42. They voted to themselves to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, the breaking of bread, and prayer. So a lot of times people will talk about the Acts 2 church, and that's one of the foundational spaces that they go to. It's just basically saying, hey, we're all about being together in fellowship. We're all about studying God's word and learning how to live life God's way and not our way. We're breaking bread together. We're eating together. We're living life together in community. And I just think that that's a way that God designed us to live. And the digital space is I can't think of the right word. It's a deception. It's deception of being a space of fellowship and connection. And yes, you can get it in little tidbits like you do with your group, but the order has to be correct. It has to be supplemental to the community of living life physically with other people, and not the other way around. Our physical life can't be a supplement to our digital space, because when we do, that's just not a healthy way for us to be living, and not the way that God designed us to be living. And as a result, we're going to see the consequences of living life that way. And I think that we are seeing the consequences of living life that way. We see it in our world all the time, with even with just the way that people interact, with customer service, I will say, right? Like customer service today is not what it was 20 years ago. I think a lot of that is people being trapped in the digital space, getting whatever they want as soon as they want. And now when, someone says, hey, the product that you sent me isn't good, the response is, well, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's not about the customer anymore. It's about what I think or what I feel. And it's, I don't know, that's one little example of many examples that are out there of, I just see our society kind of in a shift when it comes to how we relate and interact with people in real life.
Yes.
Negatively because of how people interact with each other in the digital space.
Well, and you touched on in this scripture, and it's probably the most powerful. It's the most powerful way to bond and experience life together in the Bible.
It's food.
It is,
yeah.
But it's the Last Supper. The breaking of bread.
Yeah.
I just listened to a podcast, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this out there because it's really good. John Bernthal, the actor in The Walking Dead, Shane, the dark hair, the kind of the bad guy.
Sure.
He's a pretty famous actor. He's been in movies and shows and stuff. He has a podcast called Real Ones that I just got turned on to some weeks ago. I've listened to a few terrific conversations with him. What a cool guy. Really putting out a great message. Very much in line with some of the things that we're talking about right now. About connecting and having meaningful conversation with people that can bring some hope and inspire change, right? And just really good stuff. I'd love to actually get him on the show down the line. He had a guest. If you're listening, John, probably not. He had a guest.
No, it's that attitude, Chris.
I believe in ourselves.
Positive attitude.
I believe in strong by design.
Yeah.
He had a conversation with a former Special Forces guy, firefighter, just an amazing human being. The guy's name is Kevin Vance. And he talked about when he was overseas, right, in the military. And it's really humanitarian stuff that's going on. People think military and they think, domination and being, tough and taking what's mine and inflicting harm if needed and all this stuff that comes with it. He's like, really what the military does, like, it's humanitarian stuff. We help other people all over the world. We help bring food. We help support and protect and provide service, right, to others. He said, but there's nothing like being invited into someone's home in another country to sit down with them for a meal. That's being like accepted. He's like, that's for those other cultures and like ours, that's getting to know somebody, to respect and honor them at your table and to feed them and nourish them. And he talked about this for a while, and it really hit home to me. I'm like, it reminds me of the Last Supper and breaking of bread, and what's one of the most powerful things that's ever happened, certainly in the Christian world, is Jesus with his disciples and the breaking of bread and what the meaning was behind that. Right.
Well, even like with, Jesus is eating meals with tax collectors and sinners like Zacchaeus, and the Pharisees are all freaking out like, you can't go have food at his house. That's there's something meaningful about going into someone's home and having a meal with them. And sharing that meal.
It's a big deal. And in our culture, going and sharing a meal,
it's hard to do that digitally.
It's hard to do that digitally, right? But what's a meaningful time with your wife? Date night. I know they're few and far between. You have 4 children. I have 2. Lives are crazy. But if we don't take those moments, and it could be a lunch, right? It could be whatever.
Breakfast.
It could be a breakfast. I know your wife's come in here and you guys will share a lunch together in your office.
Right at this couch.
Right at this very couch.
Table. Yeah.
But why do you do that? Because you're together and you're sharing a meal together. It's like there's something more. Could she just come in and sit here and you guys chit chat? Sure.
Play on our phones.
Playing your phones together.
Watch some TikTok
together, but not but apart still. There's something to it, right? Why do we enjoy lunches together as our little culture here, our little group here? And there's just something about it. There's a bonding that happens. We're together. We're one. we're all feeding ourselves and enjoying each other's company right now, and it goes so deep, and it goes deep for people of all shapes and sizes and cultures all around the world, right? The breaking of bread, and just how meaningful and powerful that is. And I encourage anyone listening to find the ways to do that in your community, where you live. Find opportunities to go and connect, to go and feed people. That's one thing that I want to do a better job of outreach and of service and giving of my time to help and benefit other people. And I know a lot of that times it's helping someone in their home, it's in a tough spot, or providing food to them, because what do we need? We need food, we need shelter, right? For survival, and so that's one of the biggest
hierarchy of needs.
Yeah,
those are low on. Those are down there
without question. So, these are things that I would like to improve in my area of life. What I know a big thing for you when you moved here earlier this year was getting connected, not just here at work, but getting connected in your community and in a church. And you guys have taken lots of steps in that direction.
Yeah. I mean, we got plugged in at a local church that we really love. We actually got to go to our pastor's house for dinner last night,
cool.
Which was really, really fun. Pastor Stephen Christian, who's been on the podcast as well.
Yes, he has.
We went. We had food with them. We, sat, laughed, talked about, all kinds of different things. But it's a big deal to be able to just sit down and spend time, carve out an evening to just be with people and get to know them and, share those experiences together. And it's not even, it's hard to get it on the schedule, but once it happens, it's, you're never disappointed by it.
Yep.
We really wanted to, we moved down here. We don't have family here. We don't know anybody. So it's, making those connections. I've really appreciated our workspace and our culture here at Critical Bench, and that, we have fun together. We play together. We work together, but I feel like we have a great community of people here. And I know that, you guys are really intentional in your hiring process too, to bring the right people in that are going to help support that culture and that community.
That's right.
And so, but I know for me, like it was easier for me when we first got here because I had that community. It was more difficult for my wife, Christiana, because she was at home either on her own or with the kids. And so she wasn't able to make those connections. And so, 6 months down the road, we're a lot further along and developing friendships and things along those lines. But we need those things in order to function and survive. And it doesn't matter. Different people and different temperaments are going to have, they're going to need to be friends with more people or less people, and all of that, varies from person to person.
Of course.
But it doesn't matter who you are. You need that interaction with other human beings. Like you were designed for that interaction, and if you don't have it, it's going to cause depression. It's going to cause, causes unhealthy benefits, not a benefit, but unhealthy deterioration of who you are in your psyche and your physical body and all of those things. And so, it's important to find that community and to live in that community.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think what we all kind of are searching for, right, is a place to call home, a place where we feel accepted, a place where we feel heard, listened to, right? Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants others to stop for a moment and to hear them, hear their message, listen to their thoughts and feelings, their story, right? Isn't that all? That's why the story is the most powerful thing, the human story. Like me, what are the movies that are most interesting? Or usually they're biographies or they're biographical in nature. It's showcasing someone's life, their experiences. And the way we get those the best oftentimes is through storytelling, which goes back thousands of years, right? And so I think we all want to be able to share our story, and the best way to do that typically is in a room, in a setting where we're together. But sometimes it has to be done virtually, and that's okay. But I think ultimately it's the balance that we're talking about. Doing this in a balanced way as parents.
Balanced and prioritized.
But then also our children seeing that balance and prioritization in us as their leaders, their parents, their guides in life, so that they can continue, making those good decisions and take that on themselves, right?
Yeah.
If they see us constantly plugged in and swiping and doing all this stuff, they're thinking, well, that's just normal. That's what I should be doing. Versus like, oh, well, Dad, he's always at the baseball field. He's always coaching me. He's always talking with Mom and listening to Mom and spending time doing this and going off and being with his friends and, in the neighborhood. And we have a close neighborhood where I live, and we're out playing together and socializing and sitting with each other and talking. That's what I want them to really feel, is that connecting with other human beings is priority one. And then if the downtime in the gaps of life, now we can, if we want to sit and scroll and like relax a little bit on our own a little, but we don't let technology go up into their rooms. It's extremely rare. And typically it's a communal thing. It's like, if you're going to be on, we're going to know what you're on, and you're doing it in the living room here. So that's kind of how we also kind of, we don't want it in the bedrooms are for sleeping, or for hanging out, or, if you want to play in your room or something, but you don't need to be on technology in your rooms.
Yeah. Nope. That's good.
So how do we? I said way back in the beginning, the word integrity came up, and that's one of our 7 core values here. Is there any other core value besides the integrity one that stand out to you in line with this topic? So I'll go through for our listeners who don't know what our 7 core values are. If you episode number 1, by the way, is the 7 keys to be strong by design. So Mike and I go through and share all the 7 core values in detail. We break them down, but I'll just tell our listeners what they are real quickly. It's passion, it's integrity, it's gratitude, it's service, it's positive attitude, decisiveness, and faith are 7 core values. And I use our little acronym to be able to get through them quickly, PIGS PDF. And is there one, though, besides integrity that stands out to you, maybe 2, in line with what we're talking about today?
I mean, decisiveness and faith are kind of 2 that if our faith is truly leading us, right? So what it means to follow Jesus means allowing him to transform my mind, to transform how I think and live my life. And if that's true in my life, then that means the digital space needs to be surrendered to him as well. So faith is an important piece, and the way that I interact and how much time I interact within the digital space, my definition of virtuous is going to come from God, and so he has to influence that. And then being decisive, like, I think if we get apathetic about it, we're going to slowly make compromises and continue to go into the digital spaces and places that we don't want to be. And so we need to be decisive and say, this is my boundary, and I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to stick to that boundary and be decisive about that. And not
be
kind of
bold and convicted in that.
And not kind of flub around it and say, I said I was going to do that. I know, but I decided to do. No, you gotta be decisive. Say, this is my boundary, and then stick to it, and make that boundary based on where you're at. From how God is leading you in your faith.
Absolutely. Boundaries are so vital to our existence, to living well. We need boundaries. We need boundaries on roadways. We need boundaries for our property. If we have a pet that likes to run in the backyard, we need boundaries. We need a fence. Boundaries are a good thing. People want to make out like boundaries are not good. Borders and boundaries and walls, those things are there for a reason. They're protection. Why do we have guardrails on roadways where there's a cliff? Because if you don't do everything right when you're driving, there's no reason for you to die. the guardrail will keep you safe. It'll keep you from and prevent you from a catastrophic event, right?
That's the hope.
That's the hope anyway, right? Unless you're really going over the speed limit. But there's a whole sermon I listened to a few years ago from a pastor about margin and boundaries and it was very powerful and meaningful. But that's all we're trying to say is everyone should have some kind of boundary when it comes to their social platforms and online living, that they should, have some things set up so that, they know where they're at with it and that it's done in a healthy way and not
putting your phone in the trunk.
It's as easy as that. That really is a good one, because if I put my gym bag in the trunk with my phone in it, that's fine. I'm good with that. I know where it is. If I'm intentional, intentionality is pretty big.
Yep.
But you know what? Why don't I experiment today with this? On my way home, I will put my phone in my bag in my trunk.
Yeah, we'll go play with your car a little bit. And see if we can get you to answer your phone.
That's right. Yeah, we got to figure out if I know how to do it. But I will do that going home today and experience what that feels like. Where I don't need to just be going to. Now, I will say one thing. On my way to work, I am a big podcast or audiobook guy. And the only way, I guess I could hit play, put it in the thing, and then sit in the car and then listen to the podcast through Bluetooth. Yeah.
It's an extra 5 seconds, maybe.
It's an extra, it's just a few. But it's definitely a realistic thing to do. The other thing that could work too is like you put the phone in your bag in the back seat. Like, it's not like I'm not going to try and be flubbing reaching back for it, but
just depends on how much self-discipline you have.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Putting it in the park.
I know you're good, because I've texted you before or called, and it'll say that you're driving. You set your phone.
Well, it's a feature on your phone. You can turn it on your iPhone.
Yes.
And if you're driving, it automatically sends a text out that says, "Hey, I'm driving." I'll check it when I'm not driving anymore.
I'm not driving. That's right.
And I don't even think it pings at me. It just puts it on silent so that I'm not tempted to look at it.
That's nice. Right. Yeah, that would kind of defeat the purpose of it, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Because then it's like, oh, man.
What did it say?
It's so weird how anxious we get when you hear that ping.
It really is. Oh, my gosh. It's ridiculous. It's a little
it's Pavlov's bell.
Yeah. Well, you get that release in your brain. Is it oxytocin or whatever, one of those ones, right?
It's morphine. Just kidding.
It's more. I tell you, it is. It's like ooh, something there, something for me, something for me to look at. That feeling we got when we were kids.
That's right.
Can I get
Christmas morning?
Can I get the little treat for the 25 cents out of the thing? Well, dude, I appreciate this. I think we really talked pretty in depth and all around this, pretty comprehensively. I don't think we didn't go down any road I wanted to. That was really helpful for me. And I really appreciate all of your wisdom and life experience, and just, you're just such a good human being. I really value what you have to say, especially in something like this, because it's the iron sharpens iron, right? Yep. Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another. That's and or woman. Okay, so it's biblical though, but what it means is, we're here to be able to make each other better.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're both iron, and we're just going to rub on each other in life. And my experience can help him, and his experience can help me and grow. And that's all we're trying to do with Strong by Design, is to help you grow in life in different ways, in different areas, so that you can be the man or the woman in your marriage, in your workplace, in your community, in your church that is sharpening others. So thank you so much for sharing your time here with us on Strong by Design. We really appreciate it. As always, another great conversation with co-host Jared Haley. This is terrific. We encourage you guys to go and share this episode with a friend or family member now. Be sure to hit 5 stars or leave us a review. We love those reviews. Keep those coming. We'd love to read those. And we'll be back as always next week. We release a new episode every week here on Strong by Design. Every once in a while, we have a part 2. This could be a part 2
It could
even.
be.
I don't even know. I don't even know where we're at right now. If we want to, we could always make this a part 2 if it's a lengthier conversation, but we appreciate
If you're listening
you being
to
here.
it right now, you know.
You
know what we don't know.
because you might be on the part 2
That's
part.
right.
So this has been great as always, and we'll talk with you again very soon. Have an amazing week, and God bless you.